Okay.
Alright guys, back out here at Stony Lonesome for another episode of the Trail Mix podcast, and today I got a friend of mine on as a guest to talk about something that I find pretty interesting, probably one of the most overlooked professions in the field. My friend Alex here is why don't you just go ahead and tell us what you are, because I have this tendency to generalize and I don't want to.
Well, first of all, I just want to say it's good to be here with my long-lost buddy from high school,
Yeah.
Blake Kane. I've already listened to your previous show with Mr. Aaron.
Yeah. Got
And,
the whole parish high school reunion going on.
Really fun show. And by that extent, hello everyone and welcome to the Anything and Everything podcast collaboration with the Trail Mix. So, looking to be really fun.
Yeah.
But on occasion, I like to moonlight as an EMT full time.
Moonlight full time.
Yeah.
So EMT, which I kind of have a tendency to generalize as a paramedic, and I know that there's a difference. Can you just kind of break down generally the difference or I'm assuming there's a difference, I believe there is, between EMT, paramedic, and I guess EMS, kind of in that world, what's the difference?
Okay, sure. I'll break it down from top to bottom. The EMS is the industry,
Right,
like nursing.
right. So everybody would
Yeah.
kind of fall under that umbrella. It's emergency medical services,
Right.
I guess.
And as far as the state of Alabama is concerned, you have multiple levels. Like, actually, I'll start from the bottom. So, a lot of your first responders in general, like your volunteer firemen and so forth, have what you call like an EMR or a emergency medical responder. I think that's what it's called, or ECP, right? Or not ECP. Emergency care provider, yeah, ECP,
Yeah.
something like that. And then from that, you can get what's called an EMT basic license, which is what I have. And you know that you can do a lot more under that scope of practice. Well, of course, you can do all kinds of what you would say basic stuff, like with a basic license, like you can deliver certain medications like oxygen and aspirin, just very basic medications.
Right.
Although recently in this state they've expanded the scope a little more, so we can actually do quite a bit more than we could used to a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
And then above that, you have what you call an EMT Advanced, which is what I'm currently in school for now. And with the way things have gone in the state over the last couple of years, especially dealing with the pandemic and the paramedic shortage, they have increased the EMTA scope tremendously from what it used to be. So you can do like 85% of what a paramedic can do, it seems like. So that seems to be the real popular level that you see nowadays. A lot of times, depending on where you live, if you get an ambulance, you're not getting a paramedic. You'll get an advanced EMT or even just a basic EMT.
Huh, that's kind of crazy, because I always assumed that it was like you had to have at least one of the people that responded was a certain level, paramedic.
Yeah, well, there's a whole complex economic and political crap burger that all of this is involved in, that all this is part of right now. So as far as depending on where you live, what kind of level of ambulance you should be getting, but
yeah, I guess we should probably preface that by saying that we're in Alabama, and that's maybe be different state to state, locality to locality. So,
Yeah. But above that, you have what used to be an EMT intermediate, and that was, if you consider EMTA to be here, paramedic here, well, intermediate would be even that much closer to paramedic. But I don't know anywhere in the area that even offers that class anymore, or even if it's.
might want to pick your feet up for this. It could get a little wet.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we may have to take a break and pull the winch cable real quick. Underestimated how deep this was.
We're a little stuck, it seems like. This episode of the Trail Mix is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Come on, Razor.
Okay,
Heck
well,
yeah.
note to self, deeper than it looked.
I'm pretty sure I saw a hammerhead shark in there.
Yeah.
But yes, so I don't even know any EMT intermediates in person, so I don't even know if they still
Is
exist.
it like a legacy thing, or is it?
Well, honestly, I don't know if the state did away with the qualification, or if colleges and stuff aren't offering it anymore. I really don't know. But anyway, of course, that toward the top you've got paramedic level, and if you want to consider like paramedic and nursing to be real close to one another in terms of qualifications, just in terms of practicing medical care in general, right? Now, paramedics can do more than nurses can, because you're out in the field. You have what's called standing orders. You can intubate people. You can push all kinds of medications. You can interpret. You can do all kinds of getting into the nerdy stuff. You can do stuff as a manual defibrillation with the monitor. It's really complex and intricate in how you work on people who are in cardiac arrest. So those are like real big things that separate paramedics from everybody else. It's just stuff like that, especially the intubation, which is real important.
Yeah, I mean,
because as basics, we can intubate sort of, just in layman's terms. You push a plastic tube down somebody's throat who's not breathing.
right.
But that's kind of all it is. You just kind of shove it in there and hope that it works.
Right.
Real intubation is almost an art form.
And I would imagine that's got to be pretty extreme.
Oh yeah.
Pretty dire circumstance for it to get to that point. If you have higher, you don't want to say like higher ranking, but I guess if there's like a paramedic and an EMT or even EMT advanced, does it kind of fall on the paramedic to do that kind of stuff, or do they kind of have to delegate some tasks? Or
yeah, when it comes to complex things like that, you generally want your medic to be doing the most complex procedures that can be done, especially when it's literally minutes between life and death.
Right.
But sometimes it just can't work that way, and your lower level provider who's on the truck needs to step up, and so it's really a case by case basis.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, I guess a lot of what you do has to be case by case. It's not, because there's not just like a standard run-of-the-mill call you get.
Well, generally, yeah.
Maybe, I guess maybe in our area, maybe.
Yeah.
So, kind of covered some of the different levels. Is there anyone above paramedic, or is paramedic kind of the highest?
Yeah.
As far as like response to a scene or to a call.
Oh yeah, of course. You've got above above that, you have what you call critical care paramedics, and I'm not completely sure as to everything they can do, but your critical care ambulances and your helicopters are where you'll find those.
Right.
And they'll be with a nurse who has the scope to be able to do different things that normally you wouldn't be able to do on the scene.
Right.
So that's why you find a nurse. That's why you see nurses in the helicopter. It's always a nurse and a paramedic.
Okay. So yeah. So I guess I never really thought of a nurse responding to a call, but I guess.
And in your most insane situations,
Yeah.
like remember the tornado that hit, I think it was Fultondale a couple years ago? They were sending trauma surgeons from UAB to the scene to operate on people they couldn't get out of a collapsed house and stuff like that. So
Try to stabilize them.
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty insane. So, is there any, okay, so this is kind of pivoting to something different, but is there anything about being a paramedic that is kind of like odd or obscure that follows you around even outside of work? Like habits or practices or... Like, do you ever get in traffic and be like, why are these people not moving? And then you realize that you're in a GMC Sierra, not an ambulance.
Being in EMS, or being a first responder in general, is almost like an infection. It just kind of spreads to every corner of your life. You can take that as a good thing or a bad thing. That is definitely an individual basis there. So, like everything you see in your normal life, you can't help unless you just don't. Unless you have a heck of an off switch.
Right.
Which I wish I had. But you just kind of start seeing everything through the lenses of your job. Like being out here.
Yeah.
I
can imagine something like this might make you a little...
When we're looking at the sky, I'm like, well, okay, as long as I don't fracture anything right here, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Relatively. So,
like I told you earlier, I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I kind of know the limits, and I'm gonna try to stay as far from them as I can.
Because where we are in this area, I generally know how long it might take for an ambulance to get out here. So,
yeah, it is not quick.
And I'm looking up at the sky and I'm like, is it a clear sky? Are we going to be able to get airlifted if we can? Because it is a long drive to UAB.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said earlier, at least it's a good day for flying.
Yeah.
Relatively clear. So on response times, is there a kind of a two-part question? But why is there a real beef with EMS and firefighters? Is this a real thing, or is this something that's made up for TV or drama? And I say beef, I don't mean like hate each other. I just mean
EMS
like,
is 50% politics, so definitely.
Yeah.
Well, not so much on a crew-to-crew standpoint. Like, depending on where you work, especially the private EMS world, which is the only thing that I'm familiar with. You are always going to have, segments of your coverage area who are not happy with your response times and this, that, and the other. And, that's fair, especially where I work, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're all professional with one another. There's never any problems. Every now and then, though, you'll have something pop up, and I'm not afraid to say that I've been in the middle of it before. And we all have legitimate gripes with one another. Sometimes I'm running a call and there's a fireman or two who are like, "Watch me save the day."
Yeah.
Hey, you're doing that wrong. You're gonna kill him. Nah, okay. Guess you're not gonna listen to me.
Yeah.
I guess we'll fix him in the truck.
We'll just undo everything you just did and redo it.
So yeah, stuff like that. But
why is it that? Because I feel like a lot of people would relate to this. Why does it seem like the fire department's always the first ones there?
well, so considering where we live,
Right.
private EMS is most of your ambulances, at least in this area. And those companies usually have large coverage areas,
Right.
and you don't have that many trucks to spare. That is why fire departments are so important, and that's why it's so important to get. If you're on a fire department, I don't care if you are the designated water bucket carrier. You need to have at least some kind of medical license,
Right.
because I think to be honest, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here, you owe it to the community that you signed up to serve.
Right.
I know around here it's mostly volunteer, and I get that, but
I guess it's probably also a lot denser population or not population, but denser, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess there's more volunteer fire departments. Like, cause I know like on my way to work, I pass probably 3 volunteer fire departments, and I don't pass a single, outpost for any type of paramedic services. I guess that'd probably be another big reason, is that these people are people in the community, so whenever something happens in their community, they're already there.
But so the problem is high call volumes, low staffing, and places like out here where it's just a huge area to cover.
Right. When you say high call volume, what would be high call volume for you guys? Like, how many, I guess, calls would you take in a night? Not like, I guess, the whole company, but say you're having a busy night. I'm sure you're just like constantly on the road back and forth. There's no downtime.
Yeah, there's very little downtime anymore. Back in the day, way before I came along, you could goof off and cook dinner and everything at the station. But now it just seems like the public is content to call 911 for literally everything that happens, anything that happens. And I'm not saying they're wrong to do that. What's an emergency to somebody else may not be to me, and vice versa. But
what's the most ridiculous thing you've been called out for?
Well,
hypothetically speaking. Like, I'm sure you've never been called out to like open a pill bottle or anything for somebody, some little old granny.
I'll tell you the most ridiculous call that I've heard. And I was actually on shift when this happened. But someone had put too much salt or too much pepper on their macaroni and cheese.
Oh my goodness.
And it was too spicy for them, so they called an ambulance.
What? Get out of here.
Look, if I'm lying, then I'm a heck of a liar, because I don't know it.
That is insane. It's too spicy.
Yep.
What is that, like saying that their mouth was on fire?
Yeah, something like that. It was a long time ago.
Get called out for many stubbed toes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Most of everything, and no matter where you work, most everything you do is routine. Just like in the hospital, most of the patients that come in, you're like, well, this could have been handled at an urgent care, but
yeah,
we'll take care of you, kind of thing. And I try hard I try so hard not to be sour over it. I mean, we all do,
Yeah.
and we all fail at it quite miserably. I don't care. I don't care who they are. They're probably lying to you if if they're telling you they're happy to run on everything and to help everybody as much as they can and just
Right.
be a good public servant.
Yeah.
Nobody
Okay.
believes that.
Yeah. So, on the topic of calls, whenever you get a call, and say you're about to head out to go work it, or however you would phrase that, how do you decide who drives the ambulance? Is there like always a designated driver, or is there like people that like always, hey, I'd rather you drive, or?
Well, it depends where you work. Some places you have people who are only qualified to drive the ambulance.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
what would that mean as far as qualifications? Like they don't have the EMR or whatever?
Well, yeah, in a lot of places, in order to be able to just drive, you still have to have the bare minimum medical license, like an ECP
Yeah.
or an EMR type license, so that you can do things like CPR,
Right.
stuff like that. But depending on where you work, most everybody is able to drive. Some places, yeah, back in the day, there used to be 2 paramedics on every ambulance that you could find. And they could both drive. They could both do the same level. They could both do the same kind of care and everything. But now it's not like that anymore. So a lot of times you will have even though you're both qualified to drive, you will have one who spends most of the time driving.
I got you.
So
I guess it kind of eliminates that 10, 15 seconds of, you driving or am I?
yeah,
Do
that's
Roche
why.
vote for it?
That's why I like to just swap.
Right.
Kind of share the workload, make it even on
Yeah,
both
because
parties.
I'm assuming responding to a call it's about the same, but whenever you get to it on scene and transport to a hospital, it's
Yeah.
a lot more responsibility on the person in the back of the ambulance versus the driver.
Yeah. Well, the driver's always going to be the most important job.
Yeah.
So
If you don't get there,
yeah. For these 24-hour shifts that a lot of people work, and even longer, it's best to make sure the driver has a easy time as much as possible.
Right.
Because when they start getting heavy-eyed,
yeah, get a little cranky, a little irritable.
you gotta be willing to help them out.
Sorry about that.
So I just want to say this place is no dadgum joke. I have always heard about this place. I always wanted to go, but I had no idea.
Yeah, we're at some of the easier stuff out here.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
trying to. If we get in the hard stuff, I can't think and drive at the same time, so I just have to kind of take some of the slightly easier stuff.
But
So
I don't know why there's not an ambulance posted here 24/7. To be honest with you. Well, I guess
Right.
during opening hours anyway.
I think like you talked about
Maybe there
earlier,
is, I
just
don't
the shortage of having people, dedicating 2 people to sit here all day would be pretty taxing on the system, I'm assuming.
Do what now?
Said having 2 people sit here all day would probably be pretty taxing on the system.
Do it everywhere else.
Yeah.
Um,
So let me just pull up another question here. So on the topic of calls and going out on calls, I feel like it's pretty heavy. I don't know. I guess just because that's where you always see them, I feel like it's pretty heavy as vehicular crashes or like car crashes. Is that probably the majority, or do you do like kind of what percentage I guess would be house calls versus on the road versus?
yeah, most of especially your medical calls, are just somebody at home. Especially in our area, it's having a hard time breathing today, diabetic problems,
Yeah.
blood pressure's real high, too low, blah, blah, blah.
find a lot of people that call 911 are home alone, not with other people?
A lot of times, yeah.
I feel like that's probably some of it. It's just, a feeling of helplessness, being alone versus having somebody there to.
It's usually either that or a lot of times it's very sad. I actually saw this the other day. You have these people who live alone and something happens to them and they're helpless for like a whole day or two or sometimes longer before family checks in on them. Those are usually the more sad calls that I see.
Yeah, I guess you got people that don't want to be a burden to their family. We're going to run up here and look at this, but I don't know about this one if I'm being honest. As long as nothing happens to you, you can probably patch me up, can't you?
Well, I'm off the clock, so
It's just, it don't look too bad.
I've got some Orajel. That's about the only medical stuff I have.
Yeah, numb it up.
Yeah.
As long as the crash results in an ulcer in my mouth.
Woo, boy. This is tough.
That is a tough one right there. We ain't out yet either. Almost there.
I wish you had a front camera.
I got one that looks like it might be recording some stuff. Alright.
Woohoo!
It's kind of like riding a bull. You get bucked around a little bit and then it gets a little calm and then you get bucked around some more.
Yeah, at least this has a kill switch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Bulls do too, they tie a rope around it. Different type of kill switch, I guess.
That was fun.
Man.
A little frightening, but it was fun.
Yeah. I'm not going to throw any shade at my last guess, but he would have been definitely holding on with his toes.
Look, Mr. Aaron is Mr. Aaron is the epitome of man. But we all have a point to where we're like, nah.
Yeah. But at some point you're like, I do have a family to get home to.
Yeah.
So, y'all have a nickname for ambulances? Or y'all just call them ambulances?
Meat wagon, boo-boo bus,
The boo-boo bus.
Box,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. You name it. It's probably been said.
So you guys, you said earlier something about a critical care ambulance. Is there different ambulances for different situations, or are they all pretty standardized?
Most of them are standardized, but like your special ambulances, your critical care ambulances, you have ambulances from like Children's Hospital and stuff like that. They have different equipment for special kinds of situations, but all in all, most of your ambulances have all the same stuff on them.
What kind of stuff do you have on an ambulance?
Oh my,
You don't gotta like go drawer for drawer, but just kind of like I know obviously you got oxygen, AED, probably.
Oxygen stuff, your AEDs, your monitors, immobilization stuff for broken bones, backboards, all kinds of medications. Albuterol, which is big around here because a lot of people have breathing problems.
Right.
Albuterol's a big one.
Yeah, I got a
Tylenol, all the way up to stuff like fentanyl, ketamine, heavy narcotics.
Wow.
For stuff like pain management.
Do y'all carry Narcan, or is that a police thing?
Oh yeah, Narcan's the hot commodity nowadays.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, I hate that in our area. It seems like you hear about it all too much.
Yeah.
So with the equipment that you have, like what all could you do really? I mean, like if you pulled up on somebody that needed a limb amputated, you think you could pull it off?
No, we
Pun intended.
like, are you asking like if we could amputate a limb?
Yeah, well, I mean, just like in general, just like what all could you do, like besides just give meds and?
So everything that we have, everything that we do, all goes back to three simple things. Make sure their airway is good, they can breathe adequately enough, and their blood is going around and around the way it needs to. Everything that we have to do to keep that in place, we can do. So if somebody has a severed limb, well, we have tourniquets and stuff like that we can use to stop bleeding, to keep blood in.
So you're not necessarily trying to fix anything. You're just trying to prevent.
Yeah, you're trying to. I mean,
being fatal. I mean, like
sometimes you legitimately can. A lot of times you can legitimately fix somebody.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't stay at home with them, for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So you got to get them to the doc. But yeah, I mean, the basic principle is keep them from getting worse.
Right.
If you can get somebody to the hospital, no matter what's going on, and they haven't gotten worse, you've done a good job.
Right.
If you've gotten them to the hospital and they're better, you've done a great job. So it's really simple.
You say it's really simple. I bet it's not that simple.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's both.
Yeah. So, is there anything kind of like new in in your line of work, like any new technology or kind of anything different practices? I know earlier you talked about the kind of more responsibility being placed on some of the lower, more entry levels versus everything falling on the paramedic. Is there, besides stuff like that, is there any like new tech or anything different going on?
Yeah, well, the industry as a whole is always trying to innovate, and it always seems like it's too much time has passed by the time it gets down to us.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, in general, the technology is leaps and bounds over what it used to be just a couple decades ago. EMS has really done a great job at trying to innovate itself. I think. Others might disagree with me, but then again, I've only been around for a few years, so don't sue me. But yeah, like just basic stuff like automatic stretchers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things like that are just really huge helps.
You can imagine that
the way ambulances are designed nowadays. It's
Yeah.
not like it used to be 50 years ago. It was just a station wagon.
Right.
And ambulances now, the way they're designed, are just, a lot of them are just really incredible. Pieces of machines.
Do you have a preference on the newer, like, I guess, I don't know if they're transit-based ambulances, but the taller, skinny ones versus kind of the older, fat ones?
Well, I've worked in almost every kind.
Right.
Your big box trucks are always, that's what everybody's going to prefer.
Really?
Yeah.
There's more room, more stuff in them?
Yeah, well, the room, for one thing.
Yeah, much wider.
The room that you have counts for, especially on real bad calls, counts for everything. As far as the vans go, your transit vans are fine. If you work in like a city,
Yeah.
or if your coverage area is nothing but, subdivisions. As far as working out in the woods, well, they're tough to maintain.
Yeah, I could imagine. They're kind of seem like they'd be a little bit light duty.
One deer can take it out.
Oh, yeah.
Can total it, like, almost every time. And it's sad, too, because they're not cheap. But the old E-Series Fords, they don't make those anymore.
Right.
So, and I'll always prefer those over a Transit type.
Yeah, Ford's it's kind of notorious for that, making something really good for a really long time and then just.
I think it has something to do. Well, first of all, the Transits, I guess, in almost every industry, have taken its place.
Right.
And I think the new, the next, a few years ago, the new type of motor that they designed or something just wouldn't fit in the E-Series. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how it was explained to me. But those old E-Series ambulances, I mean, they're not much to look at. They're ugly. They're old. Sometimes they don't work. But I think we're gonna miss them when they're gone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they're tough.
You'd mentioned
Very durable, very nimble.
Right. You'd mentioned maintenance. Do y'all outsource your maintenance? Like, do y'all have a maintenance person that kind of is responsible for taking care of everything, or?
Well, we have our own in-house facility. So
Okay, that makes sense.
I imagine a lot of people do. I imagine like your municipal-based services, especially fire departments and whatnot, they contract with somebody in town, I guess, to work on their stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really different everywhere you go. We're really lucky to have our own facility. A lot of good people work there.
So, in your experience, what with the type of calls you see most common that, and I want to stay pretty light about this, but that lead to fatalities, what would be the best way to stay top side, that in your experience, or what kind of advice would you tell someone, hey, don't do this, because,
Like just,
like from what you see, because
well,
I'm sure that there's, fatalities are not I'm sure they're not that uncommon.
well, the first thing I'll say is, in order to live a long, healthy life, the first thing you got to do is when you come out to places like this, make sure you're with somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering if you was going to say, well, first off, I wouldn't get in strap myself in a machine and go out here and tumble down a mountain, but
that's a tough question, because you don't want to tell people to live in a bubble.
right.
But at the same time, you see people doing all kinds of stupid crap.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, come on. Do I have to tell you what can happen if well, you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Medic. I don't. There's a lot of stuff I do that is unhealthy. There's myself. Most of us in EMS have some kind of unhealthy habit we don't need to be doing. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's just one of the job coping mechanisms. Unfortunately, it kills a lot of us. So.
I was just curious if there's a common denominator amongst some of the fatalities or some of the calls you get. If it's like,
most of the like I said, in our area, most of everything that we deal with is just a lifetime of unhealthiness.
Yeah, kind of like a lifestyle.
Disregard for your own well-being.
Yeah.
Over the course of decades. And I'm not shaming anybody for anything that happens that way, but
yeah, and
it's just a fact of life.
Some of it's probably unintentional. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of it is intentional, but I was reading a book and it was talking about take care of yourself as if you were caring for someone else. A lot of people, I don't need to go to the doctor and get that.
Yeah, that's
I'm really getting a little short of breath every time I walk. I'm probably fine. It's just getting old and then they wind up with a heart attack. And
It is extreme, and this is true for any profession. It's really it's the hardest thing to do is to practice what you preach.
yeah,
It really is. So,
So take care of yourselves out there, guys. Daggum. You only get one shot at it.
yeah.
I was wondering, I was kind of curious if it would come, if texting and driving would come up, because I've been holding my phone the whole time, but
Yeah, that happens.
usually probably, well,
It doesn't. I don't. Well, a lot of people have run a lot more wrecks than me, but yeah, distracted driving. I think most of the things I've ever seen,
Yeah.
it has something to do with not paying attention at the critical moment. It's always, it seems like it happens all the time, but then again, a lot of times crap happens.
yeah,
Sometimes you just wreck.
yeah, it just be like that sometimes. So what is I know like every job's got perks, but is there any like highlights to your job, like things that you actually like about it? Like, no, that sounds like a terrible way to say it. Is there anything you actually like about your job? But you know what I'm trying to get at. Is there like a point where you're like, ah, man, I do feel pretty good about that? Or,
Oh, well, yeah, first of all, I know it sounds like I've complained a lot already, but there is so much more to love about the job than there is to hate. I mean, there really is. Granted, you have to go through a lot of bullschnitzel
Yeah.
to get to those moments, but it's insanely rewarding. The few moments that you actually get to help somebody, and it's something that you remember forever.
right.
So,
Do you ever like see somebody and be like, oh, you're the guy, you
that,
saved my grandma's second cousin twice removed on my...
I never like to take credit for anything. I'm really just there to help.
Right.
But it is a good feeling when somebody comes up to you at the gas station or something and they shake your hand. They're like, just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate what y'all did.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, thank you. Well, because usually, maybe it's somebody looking out for me. I don't know. But usually when that happens, I am in the worst mood imaginable. I am ready to pop. Like, I am just ready to go. I'd just as soon punch the next patient in the face than actually do something for them. Then when I feel like that, somebody almost every time comes up and tells me something that's really nice to hear that, frankly, I just don't ever hear a whole lot. And
I can imagine in the heat of the moment, it's kind of a thankless job. Everyone's wondering what took you so long, or why aren't you doing more? Kind of probably bogs you down a little bit.
It's just little stuff like that keeps you going. For me.
Well, it's good to hear that people like that exist, and that it's well received and it's received the way it's intended. Because is there I'm assuming you have bad days as well, where it seems like everything just goes wrong, or maybe you get a couple tough calls or stuff like that. Is it kind of hard to decompress after what do y'all work 12s?
Well, I usually work all day, 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
That's just, that's kind of what I'm used to at this point. But yeah.
Is it kind of hard to unwind and let it go, let work be work?
But it's always relative. A 12-hour shift can feel like a 24, or a 24 can feel like a 12. But bad calls are weird. Because you have a lot of fun running them, I would say, in a weird way. Because you get to do some of the stuff that you're actually trained for.
Right. It's a lot more involved. You kind of...
Yeah. It's like pure adrenaline.
I'm assuming because it would probably get pretty boring just going out and putting a Band-Aid on Granny every time.
It's controlled. Yeah, it's controlled adrenaline. At least it better be. But it is adrenaline, and I love it. I love the unpredictability about everything. You can hear something come down the tube, and you're like, "All right, let's go." You get there, and you're like, "Oh!" I need everybody in a uniform over here.
Yeah, so y'all can call for backup just like police, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I've done it many times.
Is that usually just like more people than you can care for versus?
Not
or is
usually. Usually we can handle everything that gets thrown our way. But sometimes there's more. Sometimes it's like, hey,
Oh, sorry. Turtled there a little bit.
I tell you what, I am loving the Razor. This is a heck of a machine.
It really is. Man, I tell you, like, they're not for everybody,
No, they're not.
but if you're kind of like into being outside and don't mind getting the old heart pumping a little bit here and there, it's a fantastic hobby. And it's much safer. Like, I know it doesn't seem safe as I'm about to put it on its side, but it's a lot safer than like a dirt bike or a four-wheeler, even though
It's much safer than what I do.
yeah, ride motorcycles.
Yeah. I have Yeah, that's a weird thing about me is Storm, my Anything and Everything podcast co-host, which we're recording a show later. Be sure to catch up.
Oh yeah.
He got me into the whole motorcycle thing because I was against it from the start. I was like, I am not getting one of those death traps.
Well, I can imagine working in your field, it would be kind of like a inner force saying, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not gonna wind up under somebody's Mack truck. And then he sold me one of his old ones, and I was like, holy crap, this is fun.
That's how we work. I mentioned it in one of the other episodes with Carly. I was like, when these things first come out, and I was like, God, that's the stupidest waste of money. And defeats the purpose of trying to do a podcast out here if you can't talk. So I think I got most of my questions out of the way about the paramedic stuff. And like I said, I was just super curious, and
Yeah,
I think curiosity is one of those things that's really relatable to people. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person wondering about it.
Yeah, but it's good to be able to kind of color the way it needs to be every
Right.
now and then, because a lot of people have serious, and even people who know better, like other people in other parts of the medical field, they have serious misconceptions as to what our jobs actually are.
Oh yeah, I know I came into it with some.
There's a lot, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of idiots we have to deal with that we can't give lip to, or else we'll get in trouble, like other medical professions, and it's very frustrating.
Well, you hinting at that I missed the mark with the firefighters? It was somebody else.
It's not firefighters really for me. It's like when you go to a hospital and there's a doctor there who's never even seen an ambulance, and
Push the mic up a little. Oops, sorry.
there's a doctor there who's never even seen an ambulance, and you
Telling you. how-
he thinks he's, of course you answer to him because he's the highest level of care for your patient.
Right.
But at the same time, he's an idiot. And he doesn't know crap about your job. And when he's grilling you about why you did this, or why you didn't do this, or why you brought him here, well, maybe you should
do a couple ride-alongs and kind of get an understanding.
maybe you should
of
take
it.
some time off from being ultra smart and just read your local EMS protocols. And you'll know exactly why we had to do that. You know, it's just frustrating stuff like that.
No need for sunglasses out here. Plenty of shade going around.
Yeah. Oh, I've been hard on that soapbox lately.
Yeah. But I mean, it's good. It's like you said, it's hard to normally get a voice for it. Which I'm not going to guarantee that many doctors watch this podcast, but
Probably not. I wish they would.
But you know, at least kind of give the public kind of a little more understanding of it all.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a job that it's extremely hard to walk away from. I tried to walk away from it last year.
Really?
Yeah. I was kind of done with it. The pandemic and everything had been going on for a couple of years. We were all burnt out. We were sick and tired. Literally sick and tired for a lot of us.
How did
Some of us didn't even make it through the pandemic. You know, we've had a lot of medics and firemen die over the last couple of years.
Oh wow.
Because as stupid as we as a society have acted over the pandemic, it still had its toll.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any denying that it was a real thing that, you know, really had an impact on,
You know, and it's
politics aside. I mean, people died.
and every time it tries to come back on the rebound like it is right now, people want to act stupid over it again, and you're just like, can we not, please?
Yeah.
But,
I hate that it all has to be so political.
yeah, but it was that, just getting worn out, and you know, all of your regular issues on top of that. Just kind of a lot of people left and didn't come back.
I could definitely. That's a profession I could definitely see. You know, it's that
A lot of things had to change. A lot of people had to change the workload they put on themselves. A lot of employers had to change the way they did things in order to retain as many people as they could. The industry changed forever because of, I think a lot of it's for the better.
Oh yeah. There's a ton of good. I mean, as bad as it sounds to say this, there's a ton of good that came out of COVID. I mean,
but I tried leaving. I found another job. I wanted to go do it for a few months. I've reduced down to part-time. Went to go work my other job, and about halfway through, I started feeling like that I left a lot of personal business unfinished.
yeah.
Because I had planned to keep climbing the ladder in my career, because I don't want to stay where I am. I always try to keep going forward,
Right.
even when I really don't want to. I always try to keep doing it. But
What kind of caused you to go into EMS? Because I mean, I know you did some stuff out of high school. It was not even near the same. It's not even in the parking lot of the same ballpark.
well, you know, I had a lot of crappy jobs coming out of high school. Worked for a lot of crappy people, and I landed me a good job at a machine shop, working for some decent folks, and I was able to kind of.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was trying to see if there was a copperhead there. Wasn't ready for me. But I landed a decent job, and I was able to kind of build up my life. And then one day, I started getting the feeling that I needed to move on. And one day, our good buddy Tyler Wilson texted me one day. He's like, "Hey, what would you think about going into firefighting?" I'm like, firefighting. It's interesting. Let's look at it. We were looking into it and everything, but I just ran across, EMS. I wasn't really all that familiar with it. I didn't even know what an EMT was.
Yeah.
But
So you were like me at the start of the podcast.
I was completely ignorant. Like, very much. But I ran across that aspect, of like public service or whatever, and that kind of drew me in a little bit more. Because I don't really have a need to go into a burning building,
Yeah.
But working a hectic scene, like in the middle of a grocery store, like we're on Lone Star 911 or something, I can do that. That seems to be more up my wheelhouse. I can get more immediate self-gratification from doing something like that.
I think I can definitely speak for most anybody out there and say that we're very grateful there's people like you that, feel that calling for public service and capitalize on it.
I like being part of something that...
What's that, Liam? Sorry.
I'm not saying I'm Dr. Quinn medicine woman up here, but sometimes I get to do stuff that matters in real time and get to see the effects of my work and my partner's work and everybody who's there that's helping. I get to see effects in real time, and that's like gratification for me that I've never gotten anywhere else.
Right.
And that is just, it's a selfish reason, but it's really the reason that keeps me going.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty
of course
great.
I love helping. I like getting to help people. I try to help people all the time. I like to do favors. I like to try to make somebody's day better. And on occasion, I like to help prolong somebody's life.
Yeah.
But, so that goes into it as well, but it's definitely a personal thing for me.
And I feel like a lot of people that are in public service fields, feel that way. They kind of get that, like Mr. Aaron, he kept saying, I felt like I was called to get you a spider.
I think a spider, yeah.
There, we're out here. He kept saying over and over that he just felt called. He felt like that's what he was meant to do, and he said he liked working with the people in the community. So,
What did we drop? Did we drop something?
I think it might have just been a stick hitting the bottom, honestly.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's I don't know if it's a calling or not. I'll just put it that way. But it is definitely, I feel like it's just where I need to be right now.
Yeah, I actually signed up for the program right out of high school, and it didn't take but one class for me to realize that is not where I was intended to be. I don't know, I really don't even know why I'm doing it. Like, I can think a guy I work with at Zaxby's of all places, he went into it and he was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I was like, oh, cool, I can do that too. And very much not. Very much not. But it did work good because I pivoted and got a drafting degree and do that as a living now. So
Yeah. But I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with what I do. Even though a lot of times I'm not. Even though sometimes I'm not in real time and having to deal with people on an individual basis, but overall, I don't feel like that I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
When that day happens, I'll be gone forever.
Yeah.
But I like where I am. I like who I work with. I work with a lot of really good people, a lot of really smart people, a lot more compassionate people than me. And you know, I've made quite a bit of friends, I think, and I like working where I do. They've always treated me really well, and you know, it's just a good spot for me.
Yeah. So, kind of transitioning to more personal stuff than the paramedicine, which is that a real word? I tried to Google it.
I think it is.
I think it's just dumb people like me trying to sound smart. But transitioning to that, to more personal stuff, what do you like to do outside of work? I know your favorite season of the year just started.
Yes, I am.
Season.
Look, I am a slothful individual. Sometimes I love doing nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And football season is the perfect time to do absolutely nothing. So, for the life of me, I don't get why people don't get that. But, you know, I've enjoyed this whole podcasting thing.
Yeah.
Storm and I started this a few months ago, and it's been a blast. We haven't been able to do much of anything lately because of he's got a lot of big stuff going on in his life, and I just got married and everything, so I forgot my ring. And I have a great wife, best person I know, who wants to see me be happy in the things that I do.
That's the best thing you can do, is find someone that has similar goals, similar interests, and marry them.
Yeah. That's the best thing you can do. You don't want to. You always want to try to marry like someone who feels like your best friend.
Right.
I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have fun with one another.
Yeah, and you gotta have like genuine fun with the people. It's not like fun is not like going to a bar and getting drunk and then waking up in their bed the next morning. I mean, I guess that probably is a fun aspect for somebody, but you gotta like actually.
What was that girl's last name? I don't know.
You gotta be able to relate to a person. You know, some of that's life experiences, some of it's just interest. You know, but you gotta be able to have fun with a person.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that, and it's sad.
Yeah, it really is.
Because by the time they've realized they made a mistake, you've got everything involved, like kids, the biggest thing. So, stuff like that. Huge financial decisions, everything.
Yeah, well, we just got really deep all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I was hoping for some talk about stand-up comedy, podcasting, motorcycles, and then.
Well, I only did the one show so far.
The one stand-up show?
Yeah.
Do you got any plans to do more? Or is it something you're actively pursuing?
Well, I'm waiting on my manager to get back to me.
You told them, don't call me, I'll call you.
Yeah.
But suddenly they won't pick up the phone.
Well, one of my coworkers set me up with it.
Oh, okay. So I didn't get. We were actually in Tennessee riding this that night. And I was hoping somebody would have live streamed it, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
It was on Facebook somewhere. I forgot whose page it was on. Heck yeah. Is stand-up comedy, you said someone set you up, is that something that you've been interested in, or is it like... was just random. Because
Something random.
I was at breakfast and people I was with was like, hey, you know, it don't matter what kind of call we're running. It could be the most serious thing ever, and you'll say something, and we'll all bust out laughing. You need to do a show. I'm like, well, what, you mean like a comedy routine? Yeah. Nah, I'm okay. 15 minutes later, hey, so I got you set up at the local bar down here. I'm like, oh boy.
You're going to be on at 8.
I guess we're going to do this.
Got a 15-minute slot. You're going to be on at 8. Let's,
So I kind of got drafted into it, but it was a lot of fun.
Get any stage fright?
Oh yeah. I do get stage fright. But as John Wayne said, courage is not having any fear. He's not having no fear. Courage is having fear and doing it anyway.
Oh, there you go.
So that's the whole secret to life.
There we go. Yeah, we have 1 hour and 11 minutes. We've just about blown our time slot out. Let's get through some quick, just kind of random. In conclusion, as every 5th paragraph of every high school English paper began.
Don't remind me.
So in conclusion, appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Oh yeah.
I learned a lot. I think a lot of people will learn a lot and satisfy a lot of people's curiosity about your line of work, and it's just been fun hanging out, to be honest with you.
It was a blast. It is a blast because we're not out of the woods yet. But
figuratively and literally.
one more shameless plug for my podcast. I will be sure to mention this tonight if we're able to do our next episode, and we'll try to partner up on more than one occasion if you want to.
Yeah, I'd love to come on for an episode of yours, and
I know
I'd like to get Storm on here too.
Yeah.
He's just so busy. After hearing how passionate he was about not bothering them during football season, I may maybe after January before I can get him on.
Oh, he wouldn't mind getting bothered for something like this. But yeah, anything and everything podcast. You can find it on most platforms, I believe. I use Apple, of course, but we're on Spotify and Amazon, Google. We've had a lot of fun doing it. We love getting to partner up with other podcasts. So it's fun to get to meet up with people in this business. Kind of learn off of each other, because Storm and I, even though we've put out a lot of content lately, this year, we're still learning the ropes.
Oh yeah, I am definitely still on the learning curve. I probably will be for a very long time. Just figuring out timing and just how to make this whole format work. It's kind of a unique situation here.
And whether you have one viewer or 10 or 50 or 100 or 1,000, if somebody can get entertained from it, that's good enough reason for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Like I said, that's gonna wrap episode 1, 2, 3 of the Trail Mix podcast. I appreciate you guys stopping in. I appreciate Alex for generously donating his time at no financial compensation to himself. And with that being said, I will see you guys on the next episode.
Ciao.